It's not that I didn't like New York. I loved New York. I felt like for the first time I actually fit in somewhere, you know? I loved my work, I loved my friends, I loved my life. But there came a point when I stopped loving my life and sort of started loving the idea of a different kind of life. I would feel like after, you know, the drugs or the alcohol had worn off, I was looking at myself through a window. I'd always had this tendency to go crazy. I was never by any means an easy person, but my lifestyle definitely intensified the situation to the point that I couldn't even function anymore. It's like every night was spent getting ready to go out, and every morning was spent wondering what the hell had happened last night. Eventually it got to the point that I couldn't even function. I would just lie in bed. I couldn't get out of my room. Or maybe I just started taking it for granted. I didn't know what was wrong, but I stopped focusing on what was important, which was... So I went to Wisconsin for a while to stay with my parents and try a different kind of life.
So my mom sent me this email from my sister.
In my career, in my future. I don't know how much longer and I can take being out of New York before I go crazy, which would be sort of defeating the purpose of being here. But I am going to document what has been happening over the past few months.
It's inadequate for
I can't document the future or predict it, but I'm hoping it'll be productive.
Yeah, so I fucking hate it here. I don't see the point of this at all. I've just been sitting here wishing I could go home. It's like I don't even think my friends remember me anymore. I don't even remember why I'm here. So I don't even see how this is really helping me. But if I do go back to the city, it's like I already fucked up the entire semester, so it would be pointless. I wouldn't be doing anything.
Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate Erin's life, to lean against one another, to offer the collective strength of all of our hearts and bones and poems and stories and art and songs. I can't fathom the depth of loss and pain in the hearts of each person among us and those that mourn elsewhere tonight. But I also can't possibly calculate the surplus of blindingly beautiful love we collectively possess because of what Erin has given us and the moments we are so fortunate to keep in our memory. We will all grieve in the manner that is unique to our own hearts, and there is no appropriate way to do that. But in this, we are drawn together to the tribe we formed tonight that is held by love for Erin. There is limitless strength in a tribe bound by love. And because Erin collected the lost and brilliant and misfits, both in people and in creatures, and those that, like herself, feel too much all of the time, and wear an ocean of kindness and compassion in a world that is often very cold, and carry a lightning storm of creativity, and keep the most honest and terrifying and beautiful emotions open and raw for all to see, because they can't all fit in our body, because all of those things we have in common, because we are clearly a bunch of weirdos. I'm grateful that we have each other tonight. I'm grateful for all of you, and I think that Erin is too. Quinn's going to start us off tonight by reading a letter from the author and mental health activist, Stacy Pershall.
So Stacy Pershall is a mental health rights activist and also has BPD, and she wrote a letter to Margie upon finding out about Erin. My name is Stacy Pershall, and I met Erin when she contacted me after reading a book I wrote about BPD. I loved her immediately because I recognized her rocket spirit. She and I had both survived the hell of evangelical childhoods in Arkansas, and when we busted out of that hell, we brought some of the fire with us. There's a long-standing belief that people with BPD are just manipulative users of people. How many articles about us have been titled "Dying for Attention"? Or in the case of eating disorders, starving for attention? Some among you will be fighting not to think these things about Erin right now. You'll be asking yourself if it was all for attention, just manipulation to get you to stay with her so she wouldn't have to be alone. You loved her, of course, but you were so tired of it, so exhausted by what seemed to be self-created drama. Thinking these things is completely normal. It doesn't negate your love for her. You can feel angry and heartbroken at the same time. You can hold both feelings. Here's what it feels like to be inside the mind of someone with BPD. Your feelings are so big you can barely hold one of them, let alone both. You already lack storage space for the constant shame and guilt. How are you supposed to feel love and anger too? You can't experience them side by side, so the only answer is to compact them, to make them two sides of the same coin, and to pour everything you have into whichever side is facing up. You can hate or you can love. Well, when it comes to other people anyway. You yourself deserve only hate. You yourself dish it out. So this is how you live. You wake up every morning knowing that your well-being is entirely dependent on what other people think of you, or what you believe in that moment they think of you. A life with BPD is made of single, treacherous moments, and you just finish surviving one without losing your shit when another one begins. You have to be vigilant, always, and vigilance is exhausting. You're already tired from spending your formative years being vigilant against the Christian devil. Now you realize that you yourself are a devil of much greater proportions. To have BPD is to want more than anything in the world to have a perfect, idealized kind of love, because only when you have it will you prove you're worthy of living. But when it fails to materialize over and over, because that's how it is with love, we are imperfect, so it is too. You dig down into the well of shame, into its endless acid depths, and torture yourself for not being good enough. You become even more exhausted. I know that when Erin said she was tired, she meant it. And I know that when you're as tired as she was, you just can't ride your feelings anymore. Suicide can begin to seem like a form of euthanasia. This is wrong. It is simply a handing over of your huge feelings to your friends and family. Maybe spreading your love across 100 other hearts will make it manageable enough to hold. You now have some of Erin's to hold for a while.
We're now going to take a minute to hear from Erin's sister, Abby. So, Abby, if you're here. Cool.
This is what I know about Erin. When I was 8 in a plane flying into New York City, Erin convinced me that the reason my toes were so long is because I fell off the Empire State Building as an infant and had to have my limbs reattached. Erin hated eating spaghetti because she said it reminded her of worms. So together we were bound into a reality of only short and shaped noodles. Erin baked a pizza with the plastic wrapper still on it, and another time I walked in on her reading The Joy of Cooking, wondering what the recipe was to scramble an egg. She eventually became a proficient baker, which in itself bent the rules of science. Erin and I made home videos called Kitty News. She had me stand in the corner holding a weather map she drew, calmly explaining the extreme wind chill off the coast of Arkansas. Erin taught me how to thrift shop, which was mostly just cutting out shoulder pads. Erin could never get enough 90s church shoes, and she described her style to me as Golden Girls meets Subway busker who only does Newfound Glory covers. Erin was sent to the store when she just learned how to drive, prepared with a list of just a few items. She came back with a free kitten and absolutely nothing else, not even milk, which was very ironic. Erin and her friend down the street were having a yard sale. She put me in a box and stuck a price tag on my forehead. After a few minutes of hysterical sobbing, she said, get out of the box, silly, you're my sister. Which would have been really sweet, but she followed it up with, besides, $1 is highly unreasonable. Erin and I would stand outside together when we were kids as my dad was traveling, doing a dad dance together while we waited for him to pull into the driveway. And Erin and I were so good at taboo together that our mom was wary of playing with us. Erin once said dollop and I said daisy. We got the point, and board games were never the same because we would just morph into one colossal board game transformer. Erin taught me something called a blueberry muffin, which was just blueberry vodka, Sprite, and blueberries. When I told her she was a basic bitch, she snapped her head at me and said, no, fresh berries make me an advanced bitch. Erin would write ransom notes for my stuffed bear. Once I found him face down in the public pool wearing water wingies. She would have been a very methodical hitman. Erin and I watched The Trouble with Angels and A Christmas Story together so many times that we practically paid for their syndications. Erin convinced me once that there was a sugar fairy. She would hoard the honey packets from KFC and hide them under my pillow when I was sleeping. She told me to stop asking questions when I wondered why the sugar fairy always had KFC on the nights we did, but I never saw her. Erin put me in a closet once and locked the door with Nintendo cables, but she found it in her heart to slip me pieces of bread under the door. Erin was very keen, and she wrote an entire fake diary entry once just to end it with, I know you're reading this, Abigail, you little brat. Erin was my older sister, and unfortunately, with all of our turbulence, we grew apart. But like with anyone else she loved, she was always there when I needed her. I will always wonder what she would have thought about anything I will do, and that will never change. I've already found myself going to talk to her about being heartbroken, but realizing the reason I'm heartbroken is because she's gone. She never forced her opinions on me, and she never told me what I should do. Her guidance was a gentle force, and instead of talking about being stuck, we bonded over the psychological pathologies of different serial killers, because we're Bardwells and we're fucking weird. And when I found out she had passed, I looked at my boyfriend and I said, am I still a sister? And the answer was yes, I'll always be a sister.
Okay, our weather for today. Turn it around. Turn around now. Turn over this way. You see, I have sort of a dumb opponent. Now, Abby, point this down. This is why I don't want you doing it. Here, why don't I let you read the story? No. Okay, hang on a sec. I'm pointing at something. Okay, well, first of all, I need to tell you, what if I let you sing and tap in?
I'm the one who saw your picture. Do that little face you did. And your hair was like...
Well, it's not like I didn't take it myself. Well, I didn't take it, but I was there. I was more there than you were.
What the heck?
You're gonna watch. Oh my goodness.
You're freaking me out! Oh, don't you. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see that either. Erin.
Abby, look at the camera part. Right there.
Where?
Where Daddy's hand is.
Every time she said where, it looked like he said where.
Erin, show the camera your cute little kitty slippers.
Ow. Ow, Erin, no. It's okay.
Got a minute? Why not whiten your teeth?
Why not wet your teeth and use Colgate for food?
Apply the clear gel
Just
twice a
apply
day.
clear gel twice a day.
White your teeth
You have
in 2
whiter
weeks.
teeth after 2 weeks.
New Colgate.
New Colgate Simply White. Hi, Erin.
Unless. Oh, I see. What? You have to face the camera. Okay. Now then, folks. A Barbie died today. That is a sad, sad, sad news for Christmas. A Barbie died. Her name was Stacy. And Stacy was a very good Barbie. All of these people. Abby, what do you think was the best part of Stacy? Besides, folks, she was only 7 years old. 7 years. Well, when she goes ice cream trick or treat. Yeah, that was good. And I fixed her owl. Anyway, now we're going to have our regular Kid News features, and then we're going to get back to our funeral, okay? First, we have to do our regular Kitty News features. Turn over to the TV. There's something on there. What? Turn over to your TV. What's on there? Turn over to the TV. Anyway, all these lovely people over here are waiting to hear music. And each and every one of them is going to stand up and tell about Stacy. That's how much they love them folks. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's amazing. Let's go. Okay, well first, we're going to...
Hi, Abby.
I hate that.
Okay, you
It's
should
ruined my whole
get
life.
a video of us doing bunny ears because you can't take a picture of it.
Well, now put that on video.
Yeah, that's still. So you have to get the bunny ears. Hurry, get the bunny ears. Get a still shot. Sorry.
Why would you do that? Why would you take a video when I told you not to ever do that?
Why would you take a video of me? What? It's Christmas. It is. I wish we could videotape your reaction right now, but
Here we are.
Erin, just wave hi and I'll be done. Wave hi and I'll be done.
Erin was sick and Erin hurt, and I know that she's finally at peace. And Erin had an artistic gift of feeling everything around her, every broken heart, every sadness of everyone wronged. Every frustration was absorbed into her body. And this world isn't gentle enough, and I'm going to end this with a quote from Sylvia Plath's journal. Perhaps someday I'll crawl back home, beaten, defeated, but not as long as I can make stories out of my heartbreak, beauty out of sorrow. So much working, reading, and thinking and living to do. A lifetime will never be long enough.
So at this point, we're actually going to turn the mic over to Erin's dear friend Dan, who has something beautiful prepared for us. So.
All right. I met Erin through Jeremiah, or I could almost say Jeremiah got together with Erin because of me. She told me sometime after they got together that she Googled Jeremiah to make sure he wasn't an axe murderer. And a video I made about his artistic process popped up, and that was how she decided he was okay. Anyways, when I first met Erin, I had been working on a documentary about mental illness. My own experience is interwoven with commentary by doctors, police, artists, celebrities, clergy, etc. We hit it right off and spent the next couple months in a very concentrated, intense discussion, bonding over, among other things like photography and crisis guides, our shared experiences with mental illness, both of us having disorders that bore the initials BPD and both being on the same meds. I instantly recognized her sheer genius and the unique way she interacted with the world and her astounding artistic sensibilities. I right away realized she needed to be part of the documentary, and in fact, the first thing I told her was that I thought half the documentary should be from my point of view and half from hers, and that I would follow her around over the course of a year or so, and we would make this giant multimedia educational art piece. She was enthusiastic, to say the least. Unfortunately, the project got put on hold for various reasons, and we never got a chance to realize that vision. But the one interview I did with her is maybe the most valuable piece of video I have. Someone so passionate about educating the world about borderline personality disorder, so shamelessly honest about her experiences, and so brilliant in her ability to articulate the intricacies of a life that beat the living shit out of her over and over and over. this is not easy viewing, especially now. There's a fair amount of joking around about what would, outside of her circle of friends, be considered inappropriate things. There is much nervous laughter because the alternative would, of course, be uncontrollable sobbing. She's brutally candid about many of her experiences, and that is why this is such a valuable document. Apart from the wonderful opportunity it gives us to sit in a quiet space with her one last time and listen to her speak her truth.
Okay, we're going. So, well, oh, what?
We can fuck up for a little while, and then that's usually how videos begin, and then at the end,
Yeah,
it'll
totally.
look maybe normal. Borderline personality
Yeah,
disorder.
so what's that all about?
Well, it's fun. It's, I have a few books about it, actually. But it is basically, I haven't thought about it in a while, but it's basically a personality disorder, and there are, I think, not sure exactly how many there are, but it's in the same spectrum as narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder. It's one of the acting out personality disorders, I guess. And there are 9 main symptoms, and you need 5 out of 9 to qualify as borderline. And I believe they are. This is called The Angry Heart. It's the first book I got on BPD from my therapist, I think. But when it was a long time ago, and it was the first I'd heard of BPD, and I ignored it completely.
The book?
Yeah, the book. And I found all this writing in it later. Oh, here's a leaf. I found all this writing in it later, and underlines and stuff, and I don't know if it was me or somebody else. Maybe
Really?
one of my parents. But when I was 15, I lived on a farm, and I was homeschooled, and just didn't really have any friends. And I remember I was looking on the internet when it was kind of not really the internet just yet. It was difficult. And but I did look up symptoms of depression because, I mean, I knew something was wrong, something was different, because I'd always been a really happy child, and suddenly I was like dead. And I found the symptoms of depression, and I printed it out. And then I remember the first time I ever, and then I'll get into it, but a lot of people who are borderline cut themselves, and that's kind of what I started doing instead of talking to anyone, because I figured I was going to get in trouble for it. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place, you know, like what do? Do you show how you feel, or do you hide it inside and stab yourself, whatever?
Yeah.
But, so I was diagnosed BPD, I guess, when I was in my early 20s. And I ignored it because I had no idea what it was. And that's the thing about BPD, is that it wasn't really classified as a disorder until the 80s. And I mean, before that, and even in the 80s, it was a death sentence, basically, because 1 out of 10 people with BPD will kill themselves. I mean, even now, it's basically universal among people who are borderline. Suicide attempts constantly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm still getting over jumping out that window a year ago.
Did you jump?
Yes.
You did?
But,
So this is the window right here?
yeah.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's why the screen isn't there. God knows where that went.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, of course, everybody. Well, I mean, I don't know what everybody else thought, but I just thought you like fell out the window.
That's what I told
So,
people.
so you jumped out that window?
Yes.
Really? Like you just?
Well, I wanted to jump off the roof, but it was locked. That's when I called Jeremiah.
Oh, that's not that far.
It's not. Well,
But you fucked yourself up pretty good, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
fucked your back up and your whatever else.
I didn't want. It's just I wanted to jump off the roof, but
Whoa.
I
You
called-
would have done it then.
Yeah,
Really?
But it was locked.
Like you would have jumped off the roof?
Yeah, that's what I was planning to do, but then I couldn't do it off the 3rd floor because it's people's apartments, and I don't think people would be like, "Hey, can I jump out your window?"
That's pretty far out and heavy.
Well, I mean, that was definitely not the first time, because, I mean, that was last year, and, you know, I've had a bunch of overdoses. I've been in, it's kind of impressive, I guess, mental hospitals in 4 different states. But I'm on my 11th time now, and I'm hoping.
Your 11th attempt?
My 11th hospitalization, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And so was it like I suck or everything else sucks or both?
It was, I'm not really sure exactly what it was. It was just like, sometimes I'll just get this feeling of not being alive at all. And it's difficult to explain, but I guess if you feel like you're a ghost, sort of.
No, I get it.
Yeah, something really important. BPD is basically, it just means you have dramatic and traumatic relationships, especially romantic ones. You will fall in and out of love in an instant. And actually, this woman I kind of know, Stacy, she wrote a book, and it's called Loud in the House with Myself. It's very funny, and she goes over a lot of what it's like to be borderline in a very informative but amusing way.
think.
And I'm just gonna read the shit.
Okay, yeah,
Because
do it,
otherwise I'm not. And it explains a lot, and maybe there's something useful there. And I haven't read it out loud ever, but it's the one that maybe makes sense because I had a live journal. Like
What's a live journal?
It is
Like just an
it's like
online thing?
the early 2000s blogging,
Oh,
mostly for
okay.
girls. Yeah,
Alright.
and so I had a few. I fancied myself a bit of a writer.
Yeah. No, I've read some of your writing. I mean, it's really good. Well, I mean, I read your writing every day. I like it.
Well, I had to switch journals because just some things were happening in my life, and so this is what I wrote. And I haven't read this in a while, so cut, paste, whatever, but this was 2005. My mood was sad, according to LiveJournal. And I said, all right, I'm just going to get this all out of the way before I switch journals. I'll post the new link later. Please note, I never write these really introspective, self-centered entries anymore. Most of the shit is just half-hearted stabs at venting and/or pictures and/or long-winded attempts to entertain my massive friends list. Why? Because I've been trying really hard not to drag anyone down with me. But it's happening, and I can't keep this stupid shit up anymore. This is a courtesy to you, dear reader, so you can decide if you still want to be my friend. I'm too tired and too fed up with this stupid shit. And I'm too tired of keeping people from getting bored with me. So yes, this is my life, and I guess you should care. But if you don't, I want to know. Especially if you know me in person, you probably only see when I'm working, or drunk, or happy and dancing, or in class and concentrating, or printing or shopping. And it's astounding me lately that I've gone this far without letting anyone in. Furthermore, the more I let people in, the more they withdraw. That's what I was afraid was going to happen, because frankly, people have their own shit to deal with. They have enough without some relative stranger. I don't know anyone except Whitney and Matt and Katie that I've known longer than 2 years. Without some random stranger telling everyone about their lives. But I really can't just keep pretending for your sakes, and I'm sorry. So read this and decide. I'm going to make a new journal and post in it a while. You can add if you want, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's human nature. I didn't want that to happen again, but here goes. This has been a really rough year for me. I'm going to say that right now. A rough few years, actually. Basically, all my social skills have been learned in college, and my apologies if they are not up to par. I'm trying. Anyway, due to a series of events that is too long-winded to write about here, mostly regarding my best friend who I stopped talking to for years, blah blah blah. This tends to happen when you never leave your house. I'm not trying to sound like a stereotypical girl, or too contrived, or too angsty, or too live journal, but I warned you about that. This went on for a few years until, out of stress, I started stabbing myself with a mechanical pencil. Obviously this didn't do anything, but it felt right. Kind of how you might bang your head against the wall when you're frustrated. Granted, I didn't know anything about what this was, since I never hung out with anyone. Definitely no people my age. But then I started using pieces of glass, then razor blades. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I realize a lot of people have done this. I'm just putting this in because it's relevant. I never tell anyone this, so don't think I'm some idiot girl who's like, oh, I cut myself, life is pain. It was never like that. Eventually, though, it did get pretty bad. Once I accidentally cut into a vein, I wasn't trying to. Once I slashed X's down the entire length of my leg, but it looked cool. I had to wear pants for the next 6 months to hide it. Not fun, we live in Florida. Once I stained the stuff between the bathroom tiles from the blood and had to tell my mom it was for my period, which she actually believed. In retrospect, that was a stupid excuse because no one has their period in between the tiles of their bathroom, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, at this point, I was still hanging out with my best and only friend every few months, and her mom happened to notice. She told my mom, who promptly dragged me to like 10 shrinks, each of whom prescribed me something different, and each of whom said I had something different. I've been schizophrenic, bipolar, borderline, and just really, really angsty. Anyway. Around this time I started my first year of college, things started to get even worse. I was on a bunch of different meds. I was drinking. I ended up checking myself into a mental hospital in April because I was just having a really bad time. I was out for about a week and my doctor put me on Wellbutrin. It made me flip out. I ended up taking the rest of the Wellbutrin, apparently, all of the Ativan, and drinking it with a bunch of alcohol. And no, I hadn't seen Girl Interrupted. The freaky part is I don't remember doing this. I was just really out of it, and at that point my roommates and... Can I stop for a sec?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, do whatever.
I don't know, it's like the stuff that I want to talk about is not the stuff that's from 2005.
Yeah.
I didn't really have anything prepared, I guess, because there's stuff that I really want to talk about that's not me from then. It's more pragmatic and...
Yeah, talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Because there's something that I kind of want to convey, but it's very specific. And it's mostly just about being borderline or being former borderline because I feel like a lot of people don't understand it. All of this was before I realized that I needed to go into therapy for BPD. Like that was just live journal, and then a few years after that it was like 5 days a week for a year.
Wow.
At some personality disorder clinic, and that completely changed everything. It was in New York, of course, and Upper Manhattan, and...
That sounds fancy.
Alright, first I'm just going to explain what it is.
Okay.
Because I didn't know.
Alright, yeah, I don't either.
And people would tell me, and also Girl Interrupted, if anyone's watched the movie, it's ridiculous because they say that Susanna's character has BPD, but that was set in the 60s, and it wasn't really made into a disorder until the 80s.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exactly what happened, but it wasn't concrete in its present form until relatively recently.
Yeah.
So whatever happened then was different. I think the biggest problem was Angelina Jolie's character, whoever she was supposed to be, said after Susanna was reading off the list of symptoms, Angelina there said, well, that's everybody. And so here are and this is where it gets weird, because some people are diagnosed as BPD, like borderline, not bipolar, and they're not. And a lot of people who are borderline are diagnosed as bipolar, and they're not. So everybody's on different medications and getting different treatments.
Well, you and I are on the same medication.
We are, yeah. We are. It's similar. The difference is that borderlines the mood cycles are very rapid. I mean, they're very extreme, but they happen very quickly. And so it's very easy for people who aren't very close to that person to think there's nothing wrong, because the mood cycle, like, occasionally, like, the longest it'll happen is like a week maybe, when there'll be a really extreme mood swing, because, you know, if you're bipolar, there's a manic stage and a depressive stage, because, you know, that's what it used to be called. And borderline is like, you can freak the fuck out and just like, because I used to hit walls and stuff and punch shit in, and then just scream and say that I wanted to die, and then 5 minutes later, literally 5 minutes later, I would be perfectly fine again. And not only that, but I would not remember the episode, and so everybody around me would be freaked out and be like, what?
You'd like flat out not remember it?
I remember what I said, I guess, but it didn't seem like a big deal to me. It just, because that's just like my entire life. I thought that was everybody. So,
okay.
I guess if I could just kind of...
Yeah.
I have to find it again, but clear up all, you know, again, it's 5 out of 9. I'm going to find this stupid thing.
Maybe I'll find out I'm BPD.
Well, I think it's good if you find out if you are or if you're not, because the treatment for BPD is very, very specific. If you don't have BPD, I mean, it could be useful, but you might be better off using something else.
Yeah.
And but even worse, if you are BPD and you're diagnosed as bipolar, dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, is really the only effective treatment for borderline personality disorder.
What is it?
Dialectical behavioral therapy. It was actually started in Seattle a couple dozen years ago, I think. Maybe less than that. Sometime in the late 80s, early 90s. Don't quote me on that. You can look it up.
Okay.
But a woman named Marsha Linehan basically I have a ton of books around. It's just like guidelines based on Buddhist principles and living in the moment. Because people with borderline personality disorder, well, they just pretty much everything else that everyone's tried, the self-injury and the impulsiveness and the mood swings and the rage, they need to be controlled first before anything else can happen. Like, you can't get to like depression and the underlying issues and the eating disorders that tend to come with it until you can control the moods and the suicidal urges, because if your patient dies, I mean, you can't really help that.
Yeah.
So they had to figure out something that could keep them alive, basically, until...
So, did you say it's based in Buddhist principles?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
And based in Seattle, I believe, and I think it actually started at Harborview.
But I have some hellacious and some fond memories of that place.
Yeah, you know, I've been to a lot of mental hospitals and outpatient mental places, and it's definitely the best that I've been to. And
Really?
thing is, in a lot of other places, you know, outside of the West Coast, they're still kind of catching on to what it is. You know, you're still likely to be misdiagnosed, not just borderline, but... And for some reason, Seattle seems to be the hub of mental illness and recovery. Maybe it's the weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so here's this. What is borderline personality disorder? And according to someone named Joseph, I don't know who he is, but it's a nice book. Thank you, Joseph. The term borderline personality disorder, BPD, suggests the image of a person who is on the edge or the border of something. During the first 60 years of the 20th century, the border in borderline was located between neurosis and insanity, officially called schizophrenia. In fact, the diagnostic term that preceded the use of borderline personality disorder was... Goodness, what is that? Something about neurotic schizophrenia. The term was used because, at the time, all psychiatric problems were viewed as falling along a single continuum that ranged from neurotic at one end to psychotic, another term for insane, at the other. Today, most professionals have abandoned this single continuum concept of behavioral health problems. So we now know that borderline personality disorder does not progress to schizophrenia or psychosis. It is independent and complex. It's a disorder with its own origins and prognosis. So, here are the official diagnostic criteria of the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and System. Whatever, it's DSMV.
Yeah.
And so, 5 or more of the following must be present before a diagnosis of BPD can be made. These are paraphrased. First, and most important, frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. And as I read down, it's going to sound like everyone, and I'm going to just, as one of these people, kind of cut in and say what perhaps they actually mean. So 1, frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. 2, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships. 3, unstable sense of self and identity. 4, impulsive actions that are ultimately self-damaging, such as drug abuse, excessive shopping, reckless driving, or unsafe sex. 5, recurrent suicidal actions, threats, thoughts, or self-injury behaviors such as cutting. 6, unstable, intense moods or emotions that can be triggered by events and may last for hours or days. 7, chronic feelings of emptiness, boredom, or loneliness. 8, inappropriate or intense anger that is difficult to control. 9, temporary stress-triggered paranoid ideas, like I feel threatened by others, or severe dissociative symptoms, I don't feel real. So, when I first read this, I, like Angelina Jolie, thought this was everyone. But at one point, and also the good thing about BPD, borderline that is, not bipolar, because I'm not, so I can't really speak for that, but it can be cured if you're in DBT, and generally it's about 3 years before you no longer meet the criteria, so that's pretty rad.
Borderline can be cured?
Yes, but you have to be in the correct treatment. There's no other way. I've tried everything, and usually it is like an intensive outpatient treatment. Usually it involves some sort of public assistance, honestly, because you're going to be in it every day.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but honestly, again, 1 out of 10 people who are not in treatment for BPD, if they have BPD, will die. So, and that's not even including the risk of, you know, the eating disorders and everything else and the drug abuse that comes with it. So if you're diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, it's like you choose to live or die. You have to get on it.
Yeah.
It's
That
really,
makes sense.
yeah. So for like efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment, people who are BPD, it's more romantic relationships really. They have no sense of self basically. It's very empty inside. It's just this strange feeling of emptiness, and that goes along with disassociation, where you don't feel like, I feel like that's where cutting comes from, kind of like you don't feel any pain at all. There's nothing there. There's nothing, you know, you can zone out conversations. It's a little bit like being stoned, but not, because you don't feel, it's almost impossible to describe. So it's like this numbing feeling, and you feel like you're looking down at yourself from the ceiling, and it can last for minutes, it can last for a day or two. But it's just like somebody can like stab you and you don't feel anything, you're just gone. So that's what they mean by you don't have, you know, that's disassociation, and that's why you don't really have much of a sense of identity. You never developed it. And so I think that's where you need somebody else. That's where the fear of abandonment comes in, because if you don't have somebody else with you constantly, you don't have a personality. Their personality is your personality. If they leave you, you're dead. That's what it is. That's what it feels like. If somebody breaks up with you, you don't exist anymore. You need somebody else immediately, and the person who broke up with you is suddenly evil. And that's also, it's called black and white thinking. They're either perfect or evil. If they're perfect, you're perfect. If they do something like, I remember I had a boyfriend, it's always boyfriends, who said something like, I woke him up too early, or go back to sleep, Erin, and I wrote him a note saying sorry in my own blood. And I thought I was being sincere and nice and getting him to love me more, whereas now I know that getting a note in your own blood, like somebody's blood, you know, that probably that bothered him a little bit. But we just think, I mean, we're not trying to hurt people unless we really are, but occasionally we will. But it's just the things that make us feel better are definitely not the things that make other people feel better. And it's hard for us to separate ourselves from other people because we don't have a sense of self, so everybody else is everybody else. Well, okay, so anyway, obviously we have the reckless driving, the unsafe sex.
Yeah.
But then you have the...
Well, the dissociation, like I remember dropping acid a couple times and like totally forgetting what I looked like.
Yeah.
And like just being like, what? Like there's this kind of black hole. Like I am a black hole, but that's it.
Yeah.
I'm just this. Yeah. Like is that sort of approaching something? Like I have. There's no me. There is this set of like feelings and circumstances and this and that relates to this, but this isn't there.
Right. Yeah, I think if you really want to get close to what it's like to have any sort of disassociating, you know, anything that makes you dissociate, hallucinogens are probably the way to go, especially if you have a terrible time, because it's not fun. It tends to stop or start time. You have a really fucked up understanding of time, because you don't know how long you've been out. It could have been, you know, a few minutes or a few days. So there's that. And also there's something that's really been pissing me off, and you know it, a lot of people know it because I've talked about it, and that is not the only one. How people who have any mental illness that makes them hallucinate or makes them feel not quite with the world, and the pressure to take certain drugs that encourage that. Because I personally am jealous of people who can just turn it off and on. Like, I'm going to drop acid tonight, and then tomorrow I'm going to be normal. I can't imagine that. I can't. And I don't know, I guess this idea of hallucinating is, it's, I think people think Burning Man perhaps, and not so much like lying on your floor in the fetal position because the wall's upside down. Like, it's just, brains are weird. It's like, I'm happy that you're having a good time, but I don't want, maybe it's like if you're from, say, a third world country and you get your way back to a first world country and you make a life there, and then all your friends are like, dude, it would be so awesome to not have internet and just live and rough it in the wild, and you're like, why? You know, and it would probably make you a little bit angry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically it's just, and then the intense moods that are very much like, I think it's like being bipolar, but it's just all the time, which makes the cutting, because I think basically when I was in treatment with a bunch of people who had BPD, almost everybody self-harmed, and not just, I mean, I just cut and burn, but there were people who would swallow nails, and like there was one person who fucked herself up with a chainsaw. I mean, it was just like anything they could get their hands on.
Really?
Yeah, and
what did she fuck up with a chainsaw?
she just, I memean, lightly used it against her leg. And I mean, she was in the hospital for a while, but there's no way to lightly use a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had stitches, we've all had stitches, but
Yeah.
just there was like a bunch of self-poisoning.
Huh.
Just, there's so much self-hatred because you feel like, even now I can't really describe it, there's like this self-hatred that's not something I can find in a book. It's more like, I'm just disgusting. It's, if you're anorexic, it's not because you want to be pretty, it's because you don't want to exist anymore. It's just like, I hate myself, and, you know, you don't want to die necessarily, because I think everybody has this, you know, you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's how humans are,
Yeah.
but you don't know how. And, so then, yeah, the emptiness and the inappropriate anger, I guess, it's just the slightest reminder. Like, because I was assaulted a long time ago, and it involved someone, like, taking me grabbing my hair and trying to get me in. And so for a while, I couldn't have my hair pulled, and it was weird because I kind of blocked that out. But still, like, if anyone grabbed my hair, even by accident, it was just freak the fuck out. Not at them, but just, like, I'd have to go into a different room and, like...
Yeah.
And finally, I started realizing I have to, you know, just like maybe I should brush my hair by myself and you know.
I mean, so was that when you were really little, or was it a later thing?
That was a later thing, yeah. So I didn't get through what a lot of people did when they were children.
Yeah.
But I can see a little bit why something so horrible that you have to repress it and just not think about it, because that's how you get through it. It'll show up. It'll show up and it'll fuck with you no matter what you think. Like, you can say it's going away, it's not. It's even something like, you know, you get your hair stuck in a door or something, and then you're like, oh god, and it fucks up your next 2 hours. I mean, it's either go through that the rest of your life or go get help. But first you have to think about, like, the first thing is going to ask for help, and that's hard. It's really hard, especially because a lot of people don't know what borderline is, and they'll put you on a bunch of drugs that aren't going to help. And would it be okay if we had like 2 interviews, maybe?
What would it be good?
Yeah.
Why? Are you getting?
Yeah, because I'm honestly, like, I'm seeing my therapist tomorrow.
Yeah.
And talking to her. I'm getting a little overwhelmed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
About us doing this right now.
A little bit, just.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, we can stop. I mean, I've already got, like, that's all super gold.
Okay, because I really do want to keep going, and I'm really happy to be a part of this, but it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. No, let's do it. You know, we'll just do it whenever.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a feeling like there's more we should talk about?
Yeah, there's a little bit more, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I also have a few, like, there was that one video, but I have a few others. Like, I have one video of what I have.
Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world.
All right, so where's Erin? Erin Bardwell, the beautiful maid of honor and sister of the bride. We'd like to share a few words with everyone. There you are, Erin.
Thank you. I just decided to do this like 4 minutes ago because you made me guilty. So
That's my job.
yeah, usually it's my mom who does that. But I figured that since Abby's taught me so much in the past, 23 years ago, so I'm 27, but she's taught me a lot as her older sister. I always figured that we'd be in the same mental home by now. And it's always been separately, so I never got to tell her. We next door to brother because he's older and I don't have to do anything with you that's weird. That kind of weird. Anyway, what I wanted to do, because I couldn't give you a, that sounded bad. I couldn't give you a real wedding present, so I figured what I would do, since you guys showed me how to have a wedding and the flag thing was kind of cool, or there were ribbons, whatever, and the barn, it's all very white trash and it makes me feel very much at home. So. What I wanted to do was show you how not to give a wedding speech, because this is my first one. And I know when you're at my wedding, you're going to do a good job, and you can just like find the video of this, not do this. So yeah, congrats and all that.
The same rainbows and waiting round the bend, my huckleberry friend, Moon River and me.
Okay, my name is Anna Dronin. I'm a geriatric social worker, so Erin and I obviously bonded. This is my presentation on being, living with Erin, not just as a roommate for about a little less than 2 years, but just life with Erin and being friends with her. Okay, all right, so let's flash back to 2012. I'm just starting my undergrad, and I'm living in a house with a bunch of boys. I called it the Queen Anne house. This was incredibly affordable rent. I'm talking, I don't know, I paid about $425 a month, and maybe a few bucks for utilities, and it's just this right on the main drag of Queen Anne. Our landlord lives next door, and the place is completely run down. These are my roommates at the time. We had Trevor here, you can catch him, not wearing much, and I'm telling you, Cunningham's phone was out to get this guy, catch him in the shower naked. I mean, you had to do what you had to do to embarrass this guy, but I don't know if we could ever actually embarrass him. In the center, we have Cunningham, Cunner Bear. That is him wearing a Snuggie with a belt around his waist. This guy is a homebody. He stays at home. He's a house cat. And then on the left, we have Chris Proff, who lived there at that time, who is this life at the party, maybe a little too talkative for our own, mental state. But anyway, so this was at the time, 2012, November. Cunningham tells me he met a girl that he really cares about, and I was so excited. I mean, I did love single Cunningham because he was always down to go out, but if a girl could actually catch his interest was actually an incredible thing. And so Erin told me that she saw me passing in the hallway and she thought I was a snob because I was wearing a white pea coat. And I totally respect her honesty. I mean, if she thought I was a snob, you know, fine. So this is my white pea coat. I wore it for many years. It still exists. But no matter what, we quickly became sisters. And I can read some of the quotes. So, January 5th, 2014. This is her. Drunkenly plunking away on a toy piano for the second time in my life. Quote, "Can you hear this upstairs?" End quote. I say, "Only a little." Later, she says, "Tell me the truth, am I driving you crazy?" And I said, "Only a little, but you're learning." And she says, "Best roommate ever." One of the things she said on June 11th, 2013, she, of course, we all know she's an amazing photographer, and on one of my pictures she commented, "David Sedaris wrote a catchy poem about a dead guy in a forensic pathology photo book. The picture was entitled, 'Extensive Mildew on the Face of a Recluse.' And Mr. Sedaris wrote, 'Behold, the recluse, looking pensive. Mildew, though, is quite extensive. On his head, both aft and fore, he maybe should have got out more.' How this has anything to do with your picture, I have no idea." March 18th, 2013. "Last night, I dreamed that Chris Cunningham was throwing a fit behind Costco in Alabama because I was making out with Anna Dronin. Except it wasn't Anna, it was a frog named Charles, who also happened to be a Costco employee. Abby Bardwell drove all of us to jail. Why?" So, God, a lot of these are just the background of the house, which is horrendous. So we instantly bonded. I have a love for a diverse group of friends. I love anybody who's different. We would go up in my room and paint nails together. I'm not even a girl type girl. And she was the only buddy that I could get to watch the TV show Girls with. And Cunningham did not find it funny or entertaining, so we just kind of hid in my room and watched this HBO TV show. And we shared a common love for meds. So I think if we were to combine our medications that we had hoarded, we would have been able to treat anything. Antibiotics, anxiety, antacids. I mean, she had her psych drugs, I had my benzos. I had my anti-nausea pills. We had everything. So one of the, our best friend keychains was this little vial of pills that if you took them out, they were little pieces of paper, and she wrote, "Dear Anners, you don't need antacid. You don't need acid reducer. You are full of sugar." And this was our home. And she... Sorry, I wish my clicker could click over here. Oh God, go back. Okay, this was our home. And she made it hers. And that specific green plant, in February 17, 2016, she says, "I have this silly house plant that isn't fancy, but it has sentimental value. Anna took it a while I was in the hospital and apartmentless. Not only did she take care of it, but her boyfriend researched how to get rid of some mold growing on it and frequently and caringly spritzed it with a peroxide solution. I just am so lucky, and my plant looks great. Thank you, Anna Dronin." And we even tried to grow a garden patch, and we did good for about 4 months, and then the grass took over, and none of the other roommates cared. And every Sunday night was The Walking Dead night, followed by a horror movie, usually run by Cunningham. He has a certain good way of getting people involved in horror. So Erin is in that pile of people there. Yeah. One time, there was a windstorm so severe that the power went out. So Cunningham and Erin and I we didn't even touch our cell phones. We went straight for the candles. And Erin had so much fun being scared, and her excitement and her little like tiptoe thing that she did just was amazing. But yeah, we ran around till about 3, 4 in the morning, and then we finally went to bed. We probably could have piled all in one bed. And we also built forts. And I mean, Erin herself is such a compact little human that she would really crawl up inside that fort and really snuggle in. And we loved going to parties. This is her version of white trash theme. She really got heavy on the makeup. And we did a little, like, let's see, 50s party. And I let her borrow my fox costume. I don't know if I've ever seen her in so much bliss than to be a fox. She was like rolling around all night. And we also celebrated any and every birthday. And we partied too, and we had a really good time. Don't stay away! Don't stay away! Don't stay away with me! Don't stay away! Don't stay away! Don't stay away with me! She curled up on the couch. And of course, she baked. One of the things she said to me on March 29th, 2014, here's how much I love you. I'm making a cake that includes the instructions, quote, beat batter 450 strokes by hand. And she really baked in an abstract, messy sort of way. Typically she would be at home all day, we would go to work, we'd come home, and the kitchen floor was covered in flour. I mean, she just exploded in flour. And the way she pounded out dough and everything was just incredible.
It's a video, by the way.
Okay. So, smells like it would taste really good. Doesn't taste that great.
No?
But better than I thought. Yeah, it tastes like peanut butter. So, good job, Erin. You're the best.
Yes,
So here's just some of the things she baked, and this is such a small fraction. These are things that were officially documented. And I'm not a baker, I'm a cook person. I cook vegetables and meats, but she taught me how to bake a pie, and she was always so good at throwing in a random herb at the end. And then at the same time, she's like, Anna, you can really put anything you want on top of a pie. So we created this kitten pie, and then every year we would do it. And it always kind of became it's my boyfriend's birthday, he needs a kitten pie. And of course we all know of her photography skills. Here's an example of the family photo that was up on the fireplace mantle, which was Cunningham, Erin, the cat, the neighbor's cat that we stole. And myself. And she printed out 300 photos. So she was typically behind the camera, as we know. She'd really kind of lurk in the shadows, as I pointed out. And we loved to swap clothes. Well, I would just let her borrow my clothes because I was much bigger than her. And she was typically behind the camera. She made her friends look beautiful. And cool. And artistic. This actually ended up being published in so many different places around the local Seattle scene. And artistic. And fun. She was captured so many fun moments. And she loved living organisms, as we all know. Here's a beta. She would find the sickest, most decrepit-looking fish when she'd bring it home, and we'd be like, why? Why don't you just let it die? And no, she had like chemicals and nutrients to put in the water, and it was like a very touchy situation. Every hour there was a new report on the fish and how it was doing, and she was just really concerned about its health.
And here he is a few minutes after taking his vitamins. Hi. Hello. Hello.
And again, this is the plant that my boyfriend and I had recovered later. It was after a move earlier this year, but this poor plant was just full of mold, and so we took care of it, and we got it back to health, and then that's her on a bus to Portland with the same plant. And in Queen Anne, I had a hermit crab, and not very many adults have a hermit crab. This is Cammie. When Erin went to Arkansas, she found her like a gem or amethyst. But for some reason, like I had put a lot of things in my hermit crab's cage, but the way that my crab would just crawl all around this gem, it was incredible. I mean, this went on for about a straight week. This crab just loved this thing that she put in her cage. And we always like really made Cammie seem like a real person, like, she's such a bitch, and like she's just crawling around up on her gemstone. And Erin did attend the funeral of my hermit crab, who did live 8 years, which most live 2. So Cammie did pretty good. And Erin always so badly wanted a cat. And even if it belonged to the neighbors. This is Charlie. He started visiting, and once we got him in the house, we would shut the door for about 3 days. And we would feed him and love on him and play with him, and he was the happiest cat. And she so loved any opportunity to be with a dog, even if it was for a few minutes. Here's another Charlie a dog. And thank God he's not here. My old roommate, Brigham, has 2 rat terriers, absolute monsters, just mean. Even one of the dogs bit Erin in the face, and within 10 minutes, she was back up in that dog's face, getting it to kiss her. So we had this like really funny photo sesh of us in my bed with these rat terriers. And Erin and I always joked that if we did get married, this would be our engagement. And her strength was incredible. That is her supporting my weight. I would probably always be about 20 pounds heavier than her. And her ability to love was immense. And I will not remember her as this, but rather as the Erin that we all fell in love with. Thank you.
That was so beautiful, Anna. Thank you so much. We needed that. So at this point in the evening, we're going to take a few moments to invite anyone up. We're going to open the floor to anyone that would like to share any stories, readings, or thoughts to honor Erin. So feel free to come up and stand here and read and talk.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this at all. Something Anna said. Erin and I shared one pet. It was a tortoise turtle. God, see, she would know. It's a red-eared slider. She named it Slopey. I couldn't really figure out why, and then I was always trying to climb up onto its thing. It's constantly where it was. It's always on a slope. It's a perfect name. I met Erin online, and right away she warned me that she was crazy. I thought, whatever. But what I said was, awesome, I like crazy. We actually met for the first time in person at a bar in Ballard. I was early, so rather than allow my anxiety to kick in by hanging out in a poorly lit room all by myself, I waited for her outside. It wasn't long before a car pulled up, and these two girls got out. The blonde one pointed at the dark-haired one and said, "That's my sister Erin, and if anything happens to her, I have a sword in the trunk covered in raccoon blood." I laughed, but I think it was mostly to hide my fear. She did say she was crazy. Quite all right, Abby. That was only 6 years ago, which is insane, because it really seems like I've known her for so much longer than that. Like many of you, I'm sure, I've been having a hard time compartmentalizing my thoughts, putting them into some sort of order. Anything but this jumbled mess of memories, emotions, snippet of what sometimes seems like someone else's life. Things I said I wish I could take back. Erin once told me that I only like girls who are more messed up than I am because it makes my problems smaller and easier to hide. That it made me feel more like a man if I had to take care of someone, to comfort them, to distract myself from my own shortcomings. I was dumbfounded because I knew instantly that she was right. But that was her. She knew secrets about you that you didn't even know about yourself. And she didn't judge you for being messed up. She didn't judge me. After that, she could take care of me, and I wasn't alone anymore. And that's the gift Erin gave me that will stay with me forever. Since then, I've made a point of trying to find someone who isn't a damaged soul. But what I found is that we're all damaged. Some just hide it better than others, are given better tools with which to fight their demons, or find that fortress that keeps them out. I hope wherever she is now, that she's baking lots of pies, has a snake around her shoulders, a big fluffy dog at her feet, and that the National is the house band. I love you, Erin.
Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Jesse. I knew Erin because she lived at the Queen Anne house, and I lived there for a while.
Brantley lent me his wide-angle lens, and I figured it would be the perfect opportunity to show exactly what is going on.
You want to try to get through?
I'm kidding. So how did this happen? Let me get you from the other side. That was good. So Jesse has put the world's largest baby gates sideways through the stairs.
I did.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it takes talent.
That is.
And I've shared this story a few times already with a few of my friends, but it captures Erin as a whole and what she meant to me. And I think me and Erin both grew up similar with very interesting backgrounds, especially with religion. And we both grew very evangelical and then kind of following through, so we had a quick connection point. And I remember one New Year's Eve year, I wanted to go all out and wanted to get drunk. Because that's what normal people do. And so I had a bottle of whiskey, and Erin was the only one at the house, and she was like, let's go for it. So So we started with whiskey, and Anna came home, and then we started with something else. I don't remember. It's a hard night to remember. But I remember Erin being on my side the whole time. And so we have our night out. We have plenty of drinks. It was a lot of fun. And I go to sleep, I wake up, and I throw up immediately. And then I can't stop throwing up. And I throw up again and again and again, and it's terrible. And Erin, even though she hates the sound and is squeamish of throwing up, hates it. Again, she was by my side. And eventually, she got in her stack of medications and told me to take a pill. She goes, listen, this is what cancer patients take to stop throwing up, and it's going to work with you. And I think at that point, she just couldn't take it anymore. So I took the pill. I go to sleep, and I wake up, and I'm just white as rain. As if nothing ever happened. And I had typhoid. And I think my memory, though, is that, again, Erin was there, and she was there when I woke up, too. And she was just a friend who was special in that no matter what problems you had, she was there for you to listen to. And she would tell you about her problems, but if you had problems, she was there to listen to you as well and to be there with you when you were struggling, whether it's about religion or whether you were throwing up. So thank you, Erin. We'll miss you.
All right, I don't have anything prepared, but I'm Matt. I play in Chris's band, and I also had the privilege of being there when they connected for the first time. I didn't really see a lot of the early times. Chris is pretty under wraps about stuff when it comes to girls, until he's ready to share, And when he was ready to share Erin with us, I don't know, she just fluttered in like a butterfly or a bug or something. I remember I inadvertently said that. Like, she came into practice one time just like so giddy and happy and a huge smile on her face and just hands just to see all of us. And I was like, did someone leave a window open? And she got it. I don't know. I mean, we're a pretty weird bunch. And instead of recoiling from that or being too cool, she kind of basked in it and added to it. And she's one of my favorite people, so I'm super grateful for that. And she wrote to my wife and I a couple months, it could have been a couple days, I don't know, but after we lost a loved one, and she was just super, gracious with her best wishes, and I could just, her energy kind of permeated through that, as it did with all her words and art and everything. So I don't know, that's all I have to say. She's a beautiful bug.
Okay, I'm gonna make this quick because I don't want to cry. I met Erin through Chris. His best friend is my boyfriend. Her and I bonded through some really horrible times, but my favorite thing was how for 2 years we could vent anything and everything, like all hours. And I've spent the last week going through like years of texts that we sent, and tonight I found one that just finally made me laugh, where she was having a pretty rough time, and I was busy doing something, but I said, girl, I'd drop a baby to be there for you right now. And she laughed, and I said, I'd drop 10 babies. And then she wrote back, can you just drop a baby anyway? And I spent a good hour just kind of cry laughing about that today. That was just, her dark humor is what made me love her.
I owe the world nothing. I didn't choose to be born. I like myself now. I don't have to reform. I'll do what I want, illegal or not. I'll walk through a ghetto and I won't get shot. I'll wear fishnet stockings and dye my hair green. I'm sick of your standards. I wash my hands clean. So please don't tell me what I don't want to know. Tell me what to do. I'll tell you where to go.
And I will miss that greatly.
If there's anyone else that is feeling tentative but still wants to share something, there's still a moment to do that. I'm gonna share a story that one of Erin's friends sent that wasn't able to make it tonight. So she sent a message saying, I will never forget this story you shared with me. This is so you, Erin dear. The story goes, a man was walking along a deserted beach at sunset. As he walked, he could see a young boy in the distance. As he drew nearer, he noticed the boy kept bending down, picking something up and throwing it into the water. Time and time again, he kept hurling things into the ocean. As the man approached even closer, he was able to see that the boy was picking up starfish that had been washed up on the beach, and one at a time, he was throwing them back into the water. The man asked the boy what he was doing. The boy replied, I'm throwing these washed up starfish back into the ocean, or else they will die through lack of oxygen. But, said the man, you can't possibly save them all. There are thousands on this beach, and this must be happening on hundreds of beaches along the coast. You can't possibly make a difference. The boy looked down, frowning for a moment, and then bent down to pick up another starfish, smiling as he threw it back into the sea. He replied, I made a huge difference to that one. And I think that's pretty sweet. If there's anyone else who wants to share anything, feel free to come up. I'll just take a moment, and then soon we'll start to play some music for you folks too.
Well, it's impossible for me to take a picture of myself without looking like a crazy person, but I got my hair cut on purpose this time. It looks like probably like that. I don't really know what that looks like because I can't see the back of my head. Okay, yeah. Bye.
I'm Pat Cunningham, Chris's dad. Met Erin through Chris, and we had some good times, but Chris brought Erin over to his older brother's place where he was living with this, he was renting a room at this place, and it had 4 dogs in it. And one was a pit bull named Axel, and he had really bad breath. And but a nice dog. But anyway, Chris came in, and Erin came in, and all these dogs start running in, and Axel comes first, and she automatically bent over to greet this big pit bull coming at her. Didn't even know the dog, just bent over like this. And Axel jumps right into her and just whop onto her face, gave her a big kiss. And I was going, you know, Erin, watch out. And I said, he has really bad breath. She says, I know what you mean. And then she stood there for a minute, and she said, uh-oh. And I'm like, what's wrong? She said, Axel ate my earring.
I might read something her friend Nora sent.
Yeah, come on up, yeah.
Hopefully I won't shove the mic down my neck this time.
I'm sure you'll be fine. We'll lower it.
There was also something, I know mine was a little bit sad, but we'd have parties at a friend's house, and it would get kind of overwhelming with a lot of people that she wouldn't know. So I'd take her kind of outside and be like, well, do you want to go back to the apartment and just hang out alone? Yeah. Well, by the end of the night, everybody at the party we just left would be in our apartment. But at least our books were there, so it was okay. And if we had to walk down to 7-Eleven, I'd give us 10 extra minutes, and she would always ask why, because I knew she was going to stop and pet every dog on the way. Okay, so this is from her friend Nora in New York, and she couldn't make it out. But.
And I love you, awesome, man. Yeah, I know. I think they do have disposable video cameras now. Really? Yeah, you can get... Yeah.
Stop taking video.
Sorry.
Until I get my tax return,
You're on video.
delayed because...
So you know.
Hi, Erin. We miss you. You're moving back to New York soon. And I love Nora. Oh, we missed it.
Do it again.
And now I'm your
And it's her birthday.
My tenant's accountant entered my old address. It's somewhere floating around.
I'm just going to read this verbatim. I couldn't do it. Once it became real and all formal in my head, I couldn't type the words. If I was there, I could speak from the heart. I can't don't that from here. But tell her I love her and that the nearly 140,000 elephants have disappeared from famine and poaching in the past 7 years alone, and that the oceans hold more weight in plastic than they do fish, and that Trump wants to privatize outer space, so that wherever she is, it's better than here, even though here is for the worse without her. But that she deserved freedom from her pain, and that I knew that pain all too well, and her bravery kept me going in some very tenuous times. She never let me die. I did everything I could to do the same for her, but it was impossible from so many thousands of miles away. And that I know how tired her arms must have been from swimming upstream for so long, even though she wouldn't swim literally at all. Maybe that's why. All the mental and metaphorical swimming she was doing was enough work that jumping into the tides of the Atlantic Ocean with me at Coney Island was, of course, nuts. And I admired that she could leave her apartment and take the L train from Bushwick to 8th Avenue in all her depression just for some Boston Market. She loves her fried chicken and her chocolate bars. She also taught me that fat shaming isn't the only kind of body shaming. She was quick and clever more than anyone I've ever met, and she loved all living things and wanted to save them all, but was at times too trusting of humans, yet also felt herself to be so estranged from them. She was the most special person I've ever and will ever know. I marveled at her strength just to just keep trying to seek out a better world for herself, for even leaving her apartment, for being able to get out of bed. And this probably sounds crazy to those who don't have these struggles. And then she wrote, if you could just read all that, if speaking is a thing that occurs, I would really appreciate it. I love you all, and I am so sad. And that's from Nora.
Okay, so I didn't write anything, and I've been going back there for, I don't know, the past half an hour trying to figure out what story to tell. So I'm going to tell you this story, which is the week that Erin made me pee my pants every day. But I don't know, you guys all know that Erin was extremely funny. And when she was a teenager, and I was a teenager, I spent some weeks in High Springs at her farm. And they had gotten a go-kart at some point, and I don't know what she told me while we were in the go-kart, but I was driving the go-kart, and she made me laugh so hard that I peed my pants. And then she went back to the house and got me new pants without telling her parents that I had peed my pants, because that's very embarrassing. And then the next day we were out at the barn, and I was just sitting bareback on her horse hopper. And she told me, we were talking about something else, and she made me laugh so hard that I peed my pants while sitting on top of her horse. And she wrapped me in polo wraps and took me back up to the house. And then we attached Silky, a really miniature horse, to the go-kart when it ran out of batteries. Even though she had never pulled a cart before, thinking that that was a good idea. Another time where I peed my pants, maybe out of fear, because the go-kart definitely did not make it all the way back to the house. But I knew Erin for so long, and she was so complicated. And I love her very much.
Why didn't he go? Yeah, there you go. We're gonna take her
Just tie him up on the bar like they do in the westerns.
Oh, I thought about that.
Isn't that the horse parking spot right there?
I was rereading through a message board that Erin sent me to on snakes. She was trying to get us to adopt all the snakes in the whole world. Just complimenting our supposed abilities at being snake parents and the possibility of the whole board was about the possibility of snakes expressing emotions. And I saved this one little thing that she kept highlighting and sending to me over and over and over again. And this quote from somebody said, snakes don't have 4 paws, a tail to wag, and a voice to make loving sounds. They display their affection in a way that most people are unable to recognize and acknowledge, just because it's so very different. I don't think that very many of us are different from that description. And so we turn to things like art and music to express our love and grief and to celebrate those who occupy so much space in our hearts. So Chris and Brantley and Steve and I are going to play a couple of songs. And so we'll just take a minute to get our instruments ready, and then we're going to sing a couple of songs. And when we're done playing, we're going to have Margie and Linda come up and give us one quote to kind of end our evening together. Erin came and stayed with us for a little while this summer. And I sing my daughter to sleep at night. I've been singing her to sleep since she was a little person, and I carry her around, and I sing her a lullaby. And I thought we were all alone, and I was dancing her in our kitchen like I have done for 3 years. And Erin listened in. And after I put Scarlett to sleep, she asked me what the song was. And I told her. And then she said she wanted me to sing. She wished that she could have somebody sing that song to her every night before she went to bed.
Right. So
Proof, you're holding.
I'm holding a baby.
Tiny person.
This is a tiny person. Look, Scarlett. Hi, Mom. This is Scarlett, and I just wanted to show you this video because this probably isn't going to happen again for a while. Maybe never. And this is Scarlett's creator, Quinn. Say hello, Quinn.
Hello.
Say hello, Scarlett. She's uncertain.
Scarlett, why can't you talk yet?
Scarlett, say something. No? We haven't drugged her yet.
Because that sounds good.
Oh, she's grabbing boobs.
And that's what she does.
Grabbing boobs.
Grabs boobs, cries a little bit, laughs a lot.
She's a lot like Chris.
Okay. Yeah, but is he teething?
Yes.
Oh, bummer.
Okay, I think we're done here. Say bye-bye, Scarlett. Okay. Is it video? Okay. Scarlett, what is that?
What you got? Because he's my buddy.
Oh my god.
I got something.
You got something?
Got something.
Where's your tail?
So this is a lullaby for her. fall on me, and I will cry your tears for you, and you can drift off to dream. And when this crocus is matador to sail his ship on the sea, think merry thoughts of me, sweet girl, and you can drift off to dream. So lay your head on me, sweet girl, and let your hair fall on me, and I will cry your tears for you, and you can drift off to dream. And when this crocus is matador who lays his ship on the sea, think merry thoughts of me, sweet dear, and you can drift off to dream.
Okay. Apologies for the massive amount of reverb. Hi, my name's Chris Cunningham. I loved Erin very much. As Whit said, she was a very, very complicated person. And so I racked my brain over various things I could say, various speeches I could make, and I landed on just using the words of our favorite band, The National. When her and I first started dating, actually the first night we ever met, we ended up just hugging in my kitchen for about 2 hours without saying any words. My friend slowly filtered out of my house, and that was my introduction to Erin. And that night we listened to the Nationals record, High Violet. And a couple days afterwards, she asked me who the band was. And that started, as I'm sure all of you know, a obsession with them. She identified very much with the lead lyricist, Matt Berninger. And if you were to read his lyrics, I think that most of you would agree that it seems as if they were written directly either for or about Erin. They're very, yeah. Anyways, so, yeah, rather than trying to make some kind of meaningful speech, I'm just gonna sing 2 of her favorite National songs. Thank you. Couldn't find a quiet hour down in the rain. I was just soaking my head, doing right on my bird. Somebody said you disappeared in the crowd. I didn't understand then. I don't understand now. Am I the one you think about? everybody was gone. You were standing in the street cause you tried not to crack up. It wasn't like a rain, it was more like a sea. It didn't ask for this pain, it just came over me. I love a storm, but I don't love lightning. All the water's coming up so fast, it's frightening. Am I the one you think about when you're sitting in your favorite chair drinking big robins? Am I the one you think about when you're sitting in your favorite chair drinking big robins? Everybody was gone. I was standing in the street cause I was trying not to crack. I was solid gold, I was in the fire. I was coming back from what seemed like a ruin. I couldn't see you coming so far. I just turned around and there you are. So surprised you wanna dance with me now. I was just getting used to living life without you around. So surprised you wanna dance with me now. You always said how'd you way too high off the ground. You didn't see me, I was falling apart. I was a white girl in a crowd of white girls in the park. You didn't see me, I was falling apart. I was a television version of a person with a broken heart. You didn't see me, I was falling apart. I was a white girl in a crowd of white girls in the park. You didn't see me, I was falling apart. I was a television version of a person with a broken heart. Everybody was gone. You were standing in the street cause you were trying not to crack up. And pulling a drag me still on. Now I only think about Los Angeles when the sun kicks out. When the sun kicks out. You said it would be painless, a needle in the dark. You said it would be painless, it wasn't that at all. You said it would be painless, a needle in the dark. You said it would be painless, it wasn't that at all. And the sun kicks out. Yeah, so this is the last song. This is a song that, I don't know, it was Erin's possibly favorite song of all time. She loved it very much. She quoted it all the time. And it has lyrics that are very significant to just her being, I guess.
I'm gonna do ballet.
So,
Come with me, guys.
here's my harmonist, Scarlett. It's called Terrible Love. It's terrible love and I'm walking with spiders. It's terrible love and I'm walking with. It's terrible love and I'm walking with spiders. It's terrible love and I'm walking with a squad company. This quiet company, this quiet company. And I can't fall asleep without a leg. Don't help, it takes a while to settle down my shivered bones until the pine nicks out. It takes an ocean not to break. 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 Company, this quiet company, this quiet company. But I won't follow you into the ride. Behold, I said I would, but then I saw you shivered bones. They didn't want me to. Still loving, I'm walking with spiders. Still loving, I'm walking with. Still loving, I'm walking with spiders. Still loving, I'm walking with. It takes an ocean not to break. It takes an ocean not to break. It takes an ocean not to break.
So I'm Erin's mom, and there's Randy, Erin's dad, and this is really hard. So I wanted to read this myself, but I'm never going to get through it. But Erin turned me on to Augustine Burroughs a couple years ago, and except she said, don't read Running with Scissors, you'll throw the book against the wall. Whatever you do, don't read and don't see the movie. So, but he's a wonderful memoir writer, as many of you know. And I found a piece, and Rainey and I agree that this speaks our heart. And I just want to thank everyone. This has been a lovely evening. And, you know, I mean, what happened with Erin was one of our worst fears. We had a lot of worst fears about her, and honestly, this is going to sound a little perverse, but there are worse things. I mean, she's at peace, and it's kind of twisted, and our lives are forever changed, but it's not what I wanted, but it's what I feared, and I know that she's at rest now. And being with the people who loved her so much has been very, very helpful, and I want to thank everyone. And so Linda is my good friend and a very good reader, and she's going to read this piece from, what's the name of the book? This Is How. This Is How. It's a manual for life. Thank you.
It's kind of dark up here. Okay. I wonder if there is a biological reason, one that is coded into our genetic profile, that requires us to experience fully the heavy pain of loss. Because thrill and joy and triumph and achievement and orgasm and surprise, these things are so fleeting, but grief endures. If not all of us will ever know certain joys, we will know loss. It's as if at birth a baby's foot is inked and stamped onto a contract in agreement of the terms. The price of life will be losing someone you love. Nobody remembers signing anything of the kind. Yet you cannot live a full, natural life without experiencing a full, natural death. It may seem to you that your life is over now. Your future without the person you love is no future at all. Death is a head-on collision with your plans. But everything in life, the gold fillings in your teeth, the cotton of your sheets, the air you breathe, all the food you will ever eat, everything there was born from a collision. Inside every single thing that lives is a debt to a distant star that died. Nothing new is ever created without one thing colliding into another. And something new is created when the person you love dies. Because they are not the only ones who die. You die too. The person you were when you were with them is gone, just as surely as they are. This is what you should know about losing somebody you love. They do not travel alone. You go with them.
I think one of the things I hated so much about Wisconsin at first is that I was so isolated. I was basically taken away from everything that was stressing me out, but I was also taken away from everything that I enjoyed. And it occurred to me that the thing that was stressing me out and the thing that I enjoyed the most is photography. Being so isolated, I've had a lot of time to think. And I realized that photography scares me. It does. It's the equipment, I'm always afraid of breaking it. You know, it's so much responsibility. And I always felt like I wasn't taking advantage of SVA and that it was so expensive. And I was so pressured to be perfect and to keep up with people, to be as good as my classmates or better. I always had to be as good as someone or better. I was always afraid that I was falling behind. I was always afraid that my work wasn't good enough. I felt that if I didn't have the right models or the right cameras, I wasn't a good photographer. And that's pretty sad. And being away from people has basically meant that I don't have any models. And I don't have any cameras really, except for like a disposable one. But I've been doing okay with that actually, and I haven't felt any pressure to be any sort of photographer. I haven't thought of myself as a photographer. I've just taken pictures,